First of all, let me greet you with name of God, Jai Swaminarayan.
Jai Swaminarayan.
So, I think this is your first time experience in Gurukul, right?
It is, Swamiji.
So, can you describe your experience with Gurukul? You interacted with students. How did you feel?
To put it in one word, Swamiji, fantastic.
Okay.
Like every moment of this experience being here at Gurukul, it's been so incredible. Starting from like the moment we came here and we walked into the lush campus,
Right.
the campus I would describe, it's like divine.
Mm-hmm.
The infrastructure, like obviously when we were looking more about Gurukul, we saw, the pictures, right, on the website, but the pictures do not do enough justice that our eyes can, that the real life experiences. And that experience is great. And then coming to the students, obviously, the students are so understanding. They ask such great questions. They're so involved in the discussion. And that makes me so happy to see that not only are they excited to learn about what I want to share with them, but that they're taking on the initiative to ask questions and be curious about what they learned. That's a key mentality that I share and that I hope others have. And definitely Gurukul has cultivated that in its students, which is a great step forward. And
Thank you.
Of course, not to mention the administration, the faculty, and also our Pujya Swamijis like you.
Yes. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to ask you that since your childhood, right, you are achieving many milestones. Who is the person behind your success?
So the person behind my success, that's a great question because I think in part, a lot of my interest in like words in the English language is from myself to an extent. Like obviously, the way I see it, if you have a field that is your passion or your interest, there's always a little bit of motivation that comes with it. But that motivation is not the only thing that drives you forward. So for me, I would say the most important people behind my success are undoubtedly my family. So my mom, my dad, my sister, it's basically teamwork. So together, like my parents were the ones who first recognized when I was like a baby that I had an interest in words in the English language. Like if there was any place in like a library where there was alphabet toys, I would be there the whole time. And they would take notice of that. And they took the initiative of using that opportunity of seeing that, oh, this kid might have a talent for this. And so they cultivated that interest. They created a supportive environment in which I could excel and do what I love. And in doing so, they managed to make me realize, and them too, that I had a passion for spelling in the English language. They were the ones who took the initiative and brought me to my first spelling bee when I was 2 years old. And from there, that sparked a lifelong passion for spelling and for language that continues until this day and has allowed me to achieve so many things by the grace of God. And it's why I'm here today, right
That's
here.
Great.
So I attribute it to my parents, ultimately.
Right. Great. So do you ever feel ego of your achievement or success ever?
Honestly, I don't, or at least I don't think so. I don't want to, at least, because ultimately, like, no matter what happens, it's all up to God, all up to our Bhagwan, Swaminarayan, right? And so ultimately, what that means is that I'm lucky, honestly. I'm fortunate to be here in this position and to be able to have achieved what I have. And now the point at where I am now is like, where can we go from here? What can I do from now to help people and to inspire people? Like my generation, our generation, I think needs just a little bit of push in order to set them on the right direction and make India and the world proud. And so the first step is just reminding them of their true potential. Because I believe every child, every kid, every person in the world has a passion of theirs that they can devote their lives to and succeed in. And I think that giving them the right push will help bring that passion within them. So my goal is hopefully to help inspire the students and maybe bring that about in them. So when it comes to like ego or anything, I wouldn't say that I do, because primarily I just want to help people. And when it came to like the spelling bee, I had a lot of interest in spelling, and so I wanted to try and pursue that. But ultimately, everything that happens is up to God. So it rests within the Bhagavan.
That's great. So, what kind of dreams and vision you have to contribute in the life of students? Because you are interacting with the students, visiting different schools. So, what kind of vision you have?
That's a great question, Swamiji. The vision, the way I see it is, for me, I have a lot of passion in sharing what I learn with others and what I have, the lessons that I've gained from like my time in the spelling bee and doing TV shows in Hollywood and media, all sorts of different fields. And I want to share the lessons that I learned, how I was able to reach the status that I have today with others, with students. And so specifically what I've kind of observed over my life is that I've used a set of like 5 steps for success. And these are the 5 steps that I used throughout my time in the spelling bee to become, for example, the youngest boy to compete at the National Spelling Bee, and then later to compete for the record amount of times, 6. So that 5 steps, which I'll just iterate, are firstly, finding your passion. Secondly, setting up a goal. Third is working hard. Fourth is overcoming challenges. And fifth is never giving up. And these 5 are the key steps that changed my life. Had I not followed these, I would not be here right now. And so my aim is to hopefully inspire the students to maybe utilize the system out of the hopes that, well, it worked for me, so maybe it'll work for one of the students, or hopefully as many. Because the end goal for me is to try and inspire the future to achieve great things. Because for India, at least, so many great things have been accomplished by this great country in 77 years. And in the previous, now it's like spiritual guru of the world, and a key hub in many different fields. So I believe that now, this is just the start. This is just the beginning of the beautiful story that India has. And this generation and the coming generations will be there to lead it. So the goal is to inspire them using these 5 steps and hopefully bring about a little bit more positive change to India and the world.
Right, great. So to find out the passion, like what do you recommend them for the students? How they can find out their passion?
The big tip that I recommend for finding the passion, I think, is to like keep looking and keep searching. Because there are, like in our parents' generation, there weren't that many like careers that most people in India were going to pursue. But now in our generation, we have a lot more career opportunities thanks to the rapid development that our country has. And so all of us can each pursue the career that is closest to our passion. And that passion could lie anywhere, which is why I recommend just keep looking, keep searching. For example, if there's an area of academics that you find particularly interesting, like if you have an interest specifically in learning more about like math, then maybe you will find a passion in mathematics. And then from there, you can start setting up a goal, like participating in Olympiads as an example. And obviously, that's just one field, but there are plenty of there's a plethora of different careers that we can pursue. And so all that matters is keep looking, keep searching, follow your heart, listen to your heart, and you will find your passion and you will know it.
Right. So you have a good memory power. So can you give any study tips for students to enhance their memory power? How they can enhance their memory power?
I really like this question, Swamiji. So for memory power, what I would recommend, there's actually a few tips I would recommend. And this is especially in relation to like learning through textbooks or understanding the study material before an exam. As I'm sure this is like a very common thing that many of the Gurukul students would like to know. So I think one good strategy that I found is, or at least that I think a lot of people already do, but if you don't, I recommend you do now, is when you're reading through or reviewing through your textbooks, try to identify the core material, right? The key lesson, essentially. Or try to like put it in your own words, write it down, just what's the core message that lesson is trying to tell you. Because there are a lot of different little parts that build up that lesson, but crucially, there's always a core message. And so learning that core message will help you either remember the rest of it, or it will provide you a foundation to have a key part of the lesson down. So having that as a start, like identifying the core message, that's one part. And the second thing I would recommend is to say it in your own words or write it in your own words. So maybe you will explain it to a fellow classmate, or maybe you will try and explain it to one of your teachers as an example. So if you do that, then you will be able to memorize it by recontextualizing it, thinking about it in your own words, which will help you remember it because you will be definitely comprehending the material first before you express it out in your own words. So you can say it out, you can write it in like a little journal or notebook, and doing so will just require you to understand the source material before you explain it. And also, it's a lot easier generally to write down and understand, memorize what you wrote rather than what someone else wrote. So trying to rewrite it, reword it, memorize it, that is a key way that I found works that I hope will work for you, for those are the students who are watching this.
Yes, right. Similar question is the challenge is about focus also, like concentrating mind. So when they are attending classes, their mind is roaming here and there. So what could be your suggestions for developing focus or concentration?
So for focus, I would say on one end, and this is something that I believe Gurukul already does, is to have a strict like timetable. And so a timetable or like a daily schedule. Now, what I would do here is extend the schedule concept to your individual like study times. So the times that you have to study or prepare, I urge you to try and organize it. So for example, if you've maybe you've already found your passion and you want to try and work on that a bit, try to find some time. It doesn't have to be in your study area specifically. It could just be, for example, any time that you might need for, maybe you want to just relax, or any time that you're not really doing anything and you do want to do something important, I'd recommend you try and work on your passion. So my idea is anytime that you aren't, in a classroom or doing your homework, or preparing for an exam, I would recommend try to, focus on your passion, or try to figure out anything that might, help you learn more about what it is you might want to do in the future. Because that would be a pretty valuable way of using time, as opposed to distracting in a way that might not be as beneficial. So that's something I would recommend. But in general, establish a daily schedule. And the other tip I would recommend is to review what you do every day. So this can be for any amount of time. For example, Benjamin Franklin, who is one of America's founding fathers and one of my role models, employed this strategy. He constantly reviewed what he did every day. And he did it just twice a day, but I would recommend doing it on a set interval. So maybe every hour or every 30 minutes, just remind yourself, make sure that you are on track with what you're doing. So that way you can avoid veering off track for an extended amount of time. Instead, you will be staying back on focus, and you'll be able to spend a lot more time focusing on your goals and your responsibilities rather than anything else. So these two strategies of establishing a daily schedule, especially within your study area, and to try and create a revision for what you're doing every day. These two strategies I use to keep myself on track, and I believe that it will help you too.
Right. Also, our students are taking a kind of stress, tension when exam comes near. So how they can deal with the stress and tension?
So for this is obviously, I think all of the students have faced this at least once, right? And what I would recommend is in times of stress, when it might feel like a bit much, or when you're trying to deal with challenges or issues, for example, maybe a test is coming up very soon, and you're not sure about whether you're going to be able to do well in it, right? And so what I would recommend you do is to just calm down, take a step back, and then just think about how you can improve the situation, how you can make the situation better. And for example, in this case, a good way of making that situation better, of dealing with an area in which you're not as confident in, is to just spend some time. Maybe you spend that time in your study area, and then use that to focus on that specific area until you have it down, until you master it. And doing that means an area that once might have seemed a little bit complicated or difficult is now a lot more easier for you. And the more sure you are, the more confident you are about your source material that you know you can do well, the less stressed you will be. And so that's one way of doing it. Additionally, you can try and do practice tests. This is something I did for spelling, is to quiz myself. And so taking these practice tests is very useful. Either you can have a fellow classmate or a teacher quiz you, or you can just quiz yourself, thinking of different facts or concepts you need to remember. And in doing this, you will be able to test yourself essentially before the real test. So you can pinpoint any area that you think might need a bit of work, and then spend some time to try and fix that, so that when it comes time for the real test, you will ace it. So these strategies worked very well for me during my spelling career, and that idea is that it should hopefully help you.
Right. Thank you very much. And see, today you have taken good session with our students, and you have brought beautiful references from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So I was really surprised that you are already in USA, right? America. So being in America, how do you maintain Indian culture, traditions, and values? Like, how do you do that?
Okay, so this is a fantastic question, Swamiji. So I was born and raised in the US. So that's why, for example, my accent is very American.
Yeah.
But my parents were both born in India and obviously raised for majority of their life before they moved here to the USA. And so the thing is, they are definitely the big reason behind like the kind of spirituality and the continuation of the Indian culture, even in America. So, at least for me. And the thing is that obviously it is a little bit harder to do so, but luckily, the Indian American population, it's, I believe, the fastest growing immigrant group in America out of any group in the country. And so, seeing that is fantastic to hear because it means that there is so much opportunity for bringing the Indian culture and the tradition, the rich tradition that is unparalleled anywhere else on earth, and we can bring that and safely place it in America and keep it alive. So we usually have regularly we celebrate all the Indian holidays as usual every single day. When we wake up in the morning, pray to Swaminarayan, and then same in the evening, and then of course after that, like pray before every meal, and after we take a bath and everything, and then of course pray to the sun god Swaminarayan as he comes up. Obviously, in America, it's a little bit harder because like weather might prohibit it, because obviously the weather is a little bit different. But we will do it as often as we can. We'll always try and make sure we can do so. So we try and preserve the culture as much as humanly possible because we feel it's very important that we preserve our great Indian culture and tradition elsewhere in the world. We bring it with us so that way we can contribute back home.
Right. That's great. We are very happy that in America you are preserving Indian culture. And how do you manage to be with your friends, USA friends? Because they will be having different culture, you will be having different culture. How do you cope up since childhood?
Yeah, so far I'd say it's been going great in terms of that. The nice thing being like generally when it comes to like the different cultures, most people don't really mind it, and that's a great benefit. There is that at least from what I've seen is that like people like judging others for their culture, that's not, I don't think that's something that happens very often, or at least where we live it's not something that happens very often. Everyone's like very friendly and understanding of each other's cultures and tradition, and that is very great to hear because it provides such a great place for us to engage in what matters most to us. And so overall, like it's been great so far for us. I've been homeschooled for a lot of my life. Like I only started going to what you would call a real school just this year, and in doing so, like I make friends with a lot of people. I consider myself an extrovert. As you can probably tell, I like to talk a lot. And so what that means is I have a lot of friends and people who I really enjoy spending time with. And so it's great to have that as well because it's a continuation of just a nice sense of camaraderie that comes with anyone, no matter who you are. So overall, like I'd say it's not very challenging, at least for us, but obviously there may be times when it might come a little bit more complicated, but it does not happen very often. And it's a good thing that it doesn't happen very often because it means that we can really be ourselves. And that's what we want in the end.
Right. So in America, you have spent like almost since childhood you are there in America, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think how spirituality, culture and dharma has played a role in your success? How far it has influenced your success?
I would say I think dharma, following like the path of righteousness, that's definitely, I think, one of, if not the most important part of this success journey, of any journey, really. Because ultimately, what kind of success is there without dharma? Dharma is, I feel like success, I would not call something a success if it did not have dharma throughout it. Every choice that we make should be influenced by dharma, which is many different fields, many different ways of employing that. So being respectful to others and always telling the truth and praying to God and trusting in God, these are all important qualities of dharma that really solidified my path and all of our paths. So I think it's played a very important role for me. And in many different ways and many different parts of this story, you can say. So like I've always had a lot of passion for spelling, and being involved in that, I feel like part of dharma is always like giving your all for something. As mentioned in that Bhagavad Gita quote, karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. And that's do your duty, but do not think about the results. And throughout the entirety of the Bhagavad Gita, one of the big lessons and the big message is do your responsibility. Like, do what matters most, because it's crucial that like no matter what happens, if you give your all for something, the outcome does not matter. And after that, you leave it to God's hands. So for me, like I tried to employ that as much as I could. So I gave my all when it came to the spelling bee and when it came to doing like TV appearances. And I have a lot of interest in talking in front of a camera, of course, and speaking with people. So having that interest there, that definitely helped. But I gave my all when I do that, when I'm on stage and talking with people, or when I'm doing, interviews like this. And I always want to give my all, give my best, because it's righteous to do so. It is righteous, I would say. It's dharma. So I'd say there's many different parts. I think like giving your all was a very key part of that. And that's probably the most important, one of the biggest parts of dharma that solidified my success. That's one key part, but there's plenty of others.
Connecting to this question about dharma, an incident you would like to share?
Absolutely, Swamiji. So there's a very important, I guess you could say, incident that I would like to share with the Gurukul students and administration that happened in a spelling competition I was in 2 months ago in May of 2024. I was competing at a high school spelling competition. So this is after the National Spelling Bee. And this took place in Austin, which is in Texas. So near Dallas, where one of our Gurukul locations are in the US. And so when I was there, this is a statewide tournament. So it is a pretty big deal. And while I was there, we took the test, we finished it. And at the end, when they would announce results, right before they announce results, they have something called verification. And verification is basically just, here's your results. Make sure that this is all correct before we announce the prizes. And when I went up there and I saw a score out of 100, and I saw a score that said 92, and I went, that's pretty good, right? And the thing is, that placed me 5th in the state, which, yes, very competitive, but that placed me 5th in the state. Except me and my coach then read through our verification paper, which is my test result. And we went through it, and we noticed that they had made a mistake in the writing. They had made a mistake in the scoring part, and my score was not 92, it was 90, which dropped me from 5th place to 8th place. And at that point, there was a decision to make. Either I don't say anything, leave it be, and claim a 5th place that I didn't actually achieve, or do the right thing, explain what happened to them, and see what can be done. So we chose the right path, what we believe to be Dharma, and we decided to go up to the staff there and explain to them the situation. And we did. They made sure what happened, and after that, the score was in fact a 90. And yes, it was not the best score, but that score is legitimate. And I personally would rather have an 8th place or any lower place that was justified than a 1st place or a 5th place that was unjustified. I think I would not be able to sleep at night with a score that was wrong, or that I knew was wrong, and I don't think any of you would, or, anyone, right? And so, doing that actually was helpful for me and beneficial in the end, because a few weeks later, I got a card in the mail, which was from the principal of my school. And that message was saying, I am so impressed by the honesty you showed at the spelling competition when you chose to do this, when you chose to prioritize what was right, Dharma, over what was not. And seeing that made my day, it made my family's day, and it reinforced in all of us, I think, the value of Dharma, the power that there is to Dharma. So even if not doing Dharma may apparently get you a better result, I think in our minds and spiritually overall, it doesn't. Like Dharma is the right way and the only way, in my opinion. And I think that it is important for us to always follow it, because even if it might not seem like the materialistic best choice, it is the spiritualistic best choice, and God will somehow, one way or the other, find a way to prove it. So follow Dharma always.
Great, really, you have taken the very inspiring decision. At last, what that single powerful message you want to give to our Gurukul students?
So my single message this is a very, very nice, final question here, Swamiji. I would say the final message I would say is I would say it's the 5 steps that I mentioned earlier. Is the 5 steps that it's like almost a cycle, sort of, for every new interest or passion that you want to explore. But I recommend to find your passion, then to set up a goal, to work hard, overcome challenges, and then never give up. Because these 5 have shaped my life completely. And I think they will undoubtedly shape yours too. So using these, I am fortunate enough to have accomplished what I have by God's grace. And I think that for each of you, the same will happen. So follow your heart, listen to your heart. It will tell you what to do. So just believe in yourself, follow your heart, work hard, and success will follow you. And that's what I have to say. Jai Swaminarayan.
Jai Swaminarayan. Thank you very much, Akash. We are very happy to have you in this Gurukul. And we pray to Bhagavan Shree Swaminarayan. May this conversation with you shape the future of our students and inspire our students, and future many Akash also fly in the sky. We pray to Bhagavan Shree Swaminarayan, and with this we conclude this conversation. Jai Swaminarayan.
Jai Swaminarayan.